This year, 2014, we celebrate 20 years of democracy, and despite our continued challenges, there is little doubt that our country is a better place to live in than it was before 1994. The 20-year review provides us with significant reflection on the undeniable achievements of this young democratic government, as well as the key lessons that we must build upon. In 2012, Cabinet adopted the National Development Plan, the NDP, to serve as a blueprint for the work that is still required in order to achieve the desired results in terms of socio-economic development and growth of this country by 2030. With the adoption of this long-term vision and plan for our country, the NDP, a path was charted according to which our country would be able to address the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the members of the National Planning Commission, including our former colleague, Minister Manuel, for their sterling work in producing this plan. In the words of President Jacob Zuma, the plan has been adopted as a national plan for the whole country. It is our roadmap for the next 20 years. All the work we do in government is now part of the comprehensive National Development Plan, including all operational plans, be they social, economic, or political. Close quote. Since 2012, the focus has been on implementing the parts of the NDP that did not require long lead times and additional funding. For an example, the NDP proposal to establish an office of the Chief Procurement Officer in the National Treasury in order to ensure value for money and reduce corruption has been implemented. Legislation to prevent public servants from doing business with the state was introduced in Parliament last year as proposed in the National Development Plan. And the Employment Tax Incentives Act, aimed at helping young people enter the labor market, was passed by Parliament in 2013, and implementation began this year. Many of the proposals in the NDP related to developing infrastructure are already in various advanced stages of implementation. A number of pilot projects are also already underway to test new policies that have been proposed in the NDP. And this includes the Mpumalanga Land Reform Project to test the new land reform model proposed in Chapter 6 of the NTP. A partnership between the Department of Education and various stakeholders focusing on improving learning outcomes under the auspices of the National Education Collaboration Trust, of which the Deputy President is a patron. The Partnership for Urban Innovation between the Presidency and the Government of Gauteng, the Social Dialogue Initiative by the National Planning Commission towards determining a decent standard of living and how it will be achieved by all citizens as proposed in the NDP. The proposals in the NDP regarding improving planning and management of implementation are already being taken forward. The President recently launched Operation Phakisa, which is a very innovative approach to achieving outcomes, including detailed collaborating planning between stakeholders, including the private sector and civil society. This Operation Phakisa project to grow the ocean's economy from an estimated GDP contribution of 54 billion rand in 2010 to almost 177 billion in 2033. And also to increase the number of people employed in this sector from approximately 300,000 people in 2010 to almost 1 million by 2033. A similar initiative will be undertaken in the health sector shortly. The message is very clear. The National Development Train left the station in 2012 and is now moving at a very high speed. Tribute must be paid to those who were first to board this train by taking the first steps to implement the NDP, as we have said. An invitation is extended to all those who are still standing on the sidelines to board this train and join us on this wonderful journey to 2030. They are all invited to contribute towards remaking their country, South Africa, into one that is many times better than the present. Ladies and gentlemen, the medium-term strategic framework 2014 to 2019 that we are here to release is a comprehensive plan for implementing the National Development Plan and the commitments in the manifesto of the ANC as the governing party over the next 5-year term. This plan is the medium-term strategic framework for 2014 to 2019, which has now been approved by Cabinet. Building on the experience of previous administrations, the MTSF will continue with the outcomes approach adopted by the 2009-2014 administration. It builds on innovations such as the Presidential Siyahlola Monitoring Program, the coordination of the Infrastructure Build Program through the Presidential Infrastructure Coordination Commission, the PICC, and the different interventions to unblock challenges in different sectors. It does not constitute the sum total of what government does, but it serves as a prioritization framework aimed at focusing all government efforts on a set of manageable programs. It defines the strategic objectives and targets of government during the next 5 years. It is a frame of reference outlining our government's main priorities, underpinning the strategic direction of government over the next 5 years. It therefore serves as the principal guide to the planning and the allocation of resources across all spheres of government. The priorities will inform the budget submissions that national departments make to the government's budgeting process as encapsulated in the medium-term expenditure framework, of which details a 3-year rolling expenditure and revenue plan for national and provincial departments. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation and National Treasury have worked together to ensure that the commitments made in this MTSF can be funded within the resource constraints that we face. Given continuity in the policy agenda since the last administration, most of the programs contained in this MTSF have already been financed by spending plans already announced in our budget. For instance, the budget review document links our spending programs to the critical actions identified in the National Development Plan. The MTSF is intended to enable Cabinet to monitor progress on the implementation of the NDP. The Presidency is the custodian of the MTSF, although implementation is undertaken by different government departments and agencies. The Presidency will therefore provide overall leadership, coordination and monitoring and evaluation over its implementation. It is structured around 14 priority outcomes which cover the focus areas identified in the NDP, and these are quality basic education, improving health outcomes, reducing crime, creating jobs, developing the skills and infrastructure required by the economy, rural development, sustainable human settlements, effective and efficient local government and public service, the environment, international relations, social development, and social cohesion, as well as nation building. It consists of an executive summary, which is contained here and has been circulated. The main document, which contains detailed plans per outcome, is now available on our website. It has been clicked already. In each of the 14 outcomes, the MTSF outlines goals, indicators, targets, actions, as well as responsibilities. A sample of these actions and targets is provided in the annexure that is contained in this media statement. Why have we put so much effort on planning? A 1977 message written by our icon, President Mandela, to another icon, Adelaide Tambo, in 1977, I like this quote, and I quote, "Significant progress is always possible if we ourselves plan every detail and allow intervention of fate only on our own terms. Preparing a master plan and applying it are two different things." Close quotes. In 2012, our master plan, the NDP, was approved by Cabinet, as I've said, and this MTSF is therefore a major step forward in applying it. Let me quote again on the NDP. "We have received the mixed legacy of inequalities in opportunity and in where we have lived, but we have agreed to change our narrative of conquest, oppression, and resistance." Close quote. The broad acceptance of the NDP by South Africans is itself an indication of this agreement to change our narrative. These actions and targets for various outcomes that are covered are designed to change the life chances of young Thandi that the National Planning Commission's diagnostic report introduced us to in 2011. They include improving education and skills development and creating more employment opportunities for young people. Our government's program of radical economic transformation is about placing the economy on a qualitatively different path that ensures rapid, sustainable growth, higher investment, increased employment, reduced inequality, and de-racialization of the economy. The NDP sets a growth target of at least 5% a year and emphasizes measures to ensure that the benefits of growth are equitably shared. Many of our young people do not currently share in the benefits of economic growth and development. There's an urgent need to expand the range of opportunities available to our youth. Drawing inspirations from the spirit of the youth of 1976, the young lions of the 1980s, our youth must be encouraged and assisted to channel that energy towards solving challenges that they face, especially in the labor market. The NDP and this MTSF include therefore a range of actions that are aimed at creating more opportunities for young people. It is in this context that we will ensure the rapid implementation of an integrated youth development strategy as a broad vehicle or tool towards mainstreaming of youth development. The priority areas of youth development are employment creation, entrepreneurship support, and education and skills development. By rapidly absorbing youth into the mainstream development of our country, we will have responded effectively to the fact that of the approximately 25% unemployed in our country, the vast majority are young people between the ages of 15 and 35. Achievement of economic transformation and inclusive growth will not result from a single intervention, but from a range of mutually supporting initiatives. In many cases, this does not require new strategies, but better implementation of existing ones. This document contains actions to grow and diversify the economy and reduce economic concentration. It details plans for developing infrastructure, skills, and appropriate regulatory frameworks as key enablers of economic growth. It focuses on ensuring growth in the core productive sectors of manufacturing, mining, agriculture, as well as opening new areas of growth such as the oceans economy, the green economy, and shale gas. There are actions as well to ensure that small business makes a much larger contribution to growth and employment creation. More private sector investment is critical for higher growth, as the private sector accounts for more than 70% of production and employment. The NDP indicates that our country needs to increase this level of investment to at least 25% of the GDP. To achieve this level of investment, the levels of savings must also increase, coupled with creating conditions favorable to foreign direct investment. The MTSF includes actions that are aimed at achieving an economic environment that encourages business investment and rewards competitiveness, especially in sectors that can catalyze long-term growth and job creation. Our government will increase this engagement with business to unlock private sector initiative, build investor confidence, promote trust, and seek long-term commitments to implementation of the National Development Plan. These engagements will be led by the Presidential Business Working Group. Some of the targets for growing the economy and creating jobs are increasing the levels of investment rates to 25%, as I've said, of the GDP, increasing public sector investment to 10% of GDP, adding 10,000 megawatts of electricity, increasing employment and reducing unemployment to 14%, increasing share in household income of the poorest 60% of households to 10%, increasing research and development investment to 1.5% of GDP, and 300% increase in the rand value of investment compared to 2013. To quote again our icon Mandela, "There's nothing I fear more than waking up without a program that will help me bring a little happiness to those with no resources, those who are poor, illiterate, and reading with terminal disease." Close quotes. This MTSF provides such programs with regard to basic education, skills, and improving the health of our population. For an example, it targets that 60% of learners in grades 3, 6, and 9 achieving a required level of literacy, numeracy, home language, and mathematics. It describes various actions aimed at achieving this target, including training more teachers, providing more in-service training, and ensuring that teachers are placed appropriately. With regard to health, it includes a target for raising average life expectancy from approximately 60 years currently to at least 63 years by 2019. This is towards the 2030 vision of an average life expectancy of 70 years. Amongst other actions, it commits to doubling the number of people on antiretroviral drugs from the present 2.4 million to a projected 5.1 million people. Despite progress in reducing rural poverty and increasing access to basic services in rural areas over the past 20 years, rural areas are still characterized by great poverty and inequality. As stated in the NDP, by 2030, South Africa's rural communities must have better opportunities to participate fully in the economic, social, and political life of our country. Rural development remains a focus of government during this period. This MTSF also contains actions and targets in this regard, such as providing more technical, financial, and infrastructure support to smallholder farmers. Cognizant of the challenge South Africa faces with regards to the accommodation needs of our people, the MTSF focuses on ensuring that poor households have adequate housing in better living environments, the development of a functional and equitable residential property market, improving institutional capacity, and coordination for better spatial targeting. The impact of the earthquake in Orkney underlines the need to improve the quality of housing. The NDP highlights the need to address the crime that is damaging our communities and contains a range of actions and targets in this regard, such as increasing our focus on conduct crimes, which includes murder, sexual offenses, assault with grievous bodily harm, and robbery. Recent incidents involving 3-year-old Luke Tibbets, who was shot in the head on Saturday evening in Westbury, and 4-year-old Tygreen Morris, who died after he was dragged behind a hijacked car for 3 kilometers, are a sad reminder of the enormous challenge that we face. On behalf of the government, we would like to extend our condolences to the families of Luke and Tygreen and all other South Africans who have been affected by violent crime. Ladies and gentlemen, last week the Auditor General released its 2014 General Report on Audit Outcomes for Local Government, which indicates that we are still far from achieving the NDP vision of an efficient and effective local government. This MTSF includes a range of actions to address this, including improving municipal management, providing basic water, sanitation, refuse removal, road services, as well as fixing potholes, non-functioning traffic lights, service interruptions, and billing problems. Our country faces an enormous challenge in future in terms of managing and mitigating the impacts of climate change. The NDP recognizes the finite nature of many of our natural resources and stresses the need for economic development to be environmentally sustainable. In this sector, our efforts will focus on ensuring that ecosystems are sustained and natural resources are used efficiently, and effective climate change mitigation and adaptation response is adopted, and an environmentally sustainable low-carbon economy results from a well-managed transition. Recognizes that in a society with deep social and economic divisions, neither social nor economic transformation is possible without a capable and developmental state, as highlighted in the NDP. The MTSF describes a range of actions aimed at addressing this challenge. It contains actions related to improving both the quality and extent of service delivery, as well as improving the performance of public service and increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of local government. It also includes measures to improve recruitment and skills development, strengthen supply chain management, and reduce risk of corruption in government. It is opportune that we are releasing this document in Women's Month, when we are celebrating women's achievements in addressing the vestiges of patriarchy. We have increased the proportion of women in legislatures and in the executive, and are now ranked amongst the top 10 in the world in this regard. In August 1956, women from all walks of life marched on the Union buildings to protest against the past laws. Those brave women refused to accept their situation as it was and took deliberate action to change it. Similarly, the MTSF contains deliberate actions and targets across many of the outcomes aimed at increasing gender equality. In addition to improving gender equity, we focus on other actions aimed at achieving NDP goals of nation building and social cohesion. The NDP vision statement reminds us all, and I quote, "We are Africans. We are an African country. We are part of our multinational region. We are an essential part of our continent. Being Africans, we are acutely aware of the wider world, deeply implicated in our past and present. That wider world carries some of our inheritance." Close quote. To achieve the vision of the NDP for international relations, this document includes actions to support regional and continental processes to respond to and resolve crises and to promote peace and security. It contains actions related to strengthening regional integration, significantly increasing intra-African trade, and championing sustainable development in Africa, and advancing South Africa's national priorities through bilateral engagements. There are targets for securing foreign direct investment of 230 billion rand worth of investment by 2019. We have been working towards achieving the international relations objectives in the NDP, as evidenced by the recent agreement on the establishment of the BRICS Development Bank, and indeed the current US-Africa Summit on AGOA. Ensuring government-wide implementation. By law, all government departments and municipalities have to produce 5-year strategic and annual performance plans and report against those plans. This MTSF is that mechanism through which all 5-year strategic plans and annual plans of the 3 spheres of government are being aligned to the NDP and made to pull in the same direction. The aim, therefore, of this document is to ensure policy coherence, alignment, coordination across government plans, as well as aligning with the budgeting process. The Treasury regulations have since been changed so that all government departments have to submit their draft plans to the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation in the Presidency to enable a review of whether those plans incorporate all the targets that are being set in this MTSF. The MTSF will inform and form the basis of performance agreements between the President and their ministers. Ministers, in turn, will ensure that the relevant actions and targets in the MTSF are reflected in the performance agreements with their Directors General and therefore cascaded down to the performance agreements of other managers within the administration. Cabinet will use this MTSF as the basis to monitor, implement the NDP across government over the next 5 years. Cabinet will consider progress reports for each of the outcomes at least 3 times a year, and these progress reports will be made public through the Program of Action website that is managed by Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Department. We will use our monitoring and evaluation work to inform improvements to our plans and programs as we implement this program. Statistics South Africa will play a key role in providing data on a range of development indicators which will assist us to assess whether or not the actions in the MTSF are achieving their desired impacts on South African society. To quote again from the vision statement of the NDP, our new story is open-ended with temporary destinations only for new paths to open up once more. Close quotes. In conclusion, the National Development Plan is not just a plan for government, but a plan for the whole country. Its implementation requires the involvement of all sectors of South African society and an active citizenry. In addition to implementing it within government, we will therefore also be paying particular attention to building partnerships across society to achieve the goals of the National Development Plan, and we call on all stakeholders to work together with us in this regard. We shall be organizing further ongoing engagements with both the media and other interest groups regarding the MTSF and the implementation of the NDP. These will include symposia with universities and other research organizations and engagements with stakeholders such as civil society and community organizations, the youth, business and professional bodies, and organized labor. Working together, we can move South Africa forward.